Hello chess friends and welcome to Jozarov's chess channel and welcome to the round 1 of the Altibox Blitz chess tournament in 2019 in Norway. So this tournament is sort of a creme de la creme. It has all of the top grandmasters here in this tournament, and today in round 1 we had a very exciting game. It was Levon Aronian against the world champion Magnus Carlsen. Magnus Carlsen has now a rating on in Blitz 2,923. It's unbelievable. He's facing maybe his opportunity to go even higher, maybe breaking this 3,000 elo rating point. So he today faced, as I said, Levon Aronian. Levon Aronian is sort of my idol. I learned most of the games through his games. I really appreciate his style, and I have named my son after him. So I'm really excited to see this game. And here Levon Aronian was playing with the white pieces here, and he played the first move, d4, and here Magnus answers with g6. And here e4, the most common line against the so-called modern defense. Here we have d6, knight on f3, and now knight on f6, bishop on d3. And this is sort of a setup which allows black to play this early e5 move, because you don't have to worry of some trades of queens on the d file, because Levon Aronian has already played with the bishop on the d file, so we could really create a breakthrough on with the move e5. Bishop on g7 was played. Castling by Magnus Carlsen, here castling by Aronian, castling by Carlsen, and here c3. And this c3 is a really nice positional preparation here by Levon Aronian. He's really forcing now Magnus to go into this e5 line. You see, with c5, well, there is always this opportunity for white maybe to push the pawn here on e5. So here, that's why Magnus plays the move knight on c6, of course preparing the potential e5 move, but you're always facing with potential d5 moves, and of course you want later to play also the move c4 if this d5 move comes. So that's why this move c3 could be sometimes a sort of a loss of tempo in this kind of build-up here by Levon Aronian. But you'll see in the continuation that Levon Aronian will play very actively in this game. Rook on e1, and here e5 was played by Magnus Carlsen, and now h3. This h3 is also very important, preventing some bishop on g4 ideas, some pinning ideas, because you see then all of this this dynamics in these games are really coordinated around this e5 pawn. So that's why h3 meets with this central control here by Levon Aronian, simply preventing this kind of stuff. So that's why rook on e8 was played here. Magnus also waits a little bit with moves as e takes d4. He wants Levon Aronian, he's forcing him basically to play the move d5. So if we place the move d5, then we would have the so-called blocked pawn structure in the center, which is a defined pawn structure in the center. So far we have a dynamic pawn structure. If the d5 move comes, then we have a really defined, then you know what you should do in the continuation of the game. So that's why here d5 played by Aronian. And okay, here I think Magnus should have gone maybe knight on e7, and then maybe knight on d7, following with this common King's Indian attack. But the problem is, in this setup, you see with the rook on e8, you have already lost of tempo here, because you forced Levon Aronian here to play this d5 move. Of course, in this so-called King's Indian attack, let's flip the board a little bit. You want to have your rook here really on the f file, which is the most common way. So now on the e file, you would need many moves in order to bring the rook maybe somehow into the attack. You see, you're not able to push lift the rook through the square e6. In some occasions, when you have the rook on the f file, you could really lift it through the square f6. So that's why here it is also here a loss of tempo by Magnus Carlsen. So that's why Magnus goes here also knight on b8. It seems a little bit awkward, but the preparation is of course play maybe knight on d7 and then knight on c5, and fixing the position with moves as with moves is a5. So here Levon Aronian, of course, now we have the so-called blocked pawn structure in the center. So Levon Aronian uses here this direction of the pawns. Of course, he will direct his attack on the queen side, and Magnus is going to direct his attack on the king side. So that's why here a5 was played, knight on c3. Here we have knight on a6. Here a3, which is a preparation to play the move b4 if the knight, of course, jumps in on c5. Here bishop on d7 was played by Magnus, and now rook on b1, which is really important move. It's really challenges now the queen side, because after knight on c5, of course, Levon Aronian played bishop on c2, and this bishop is now on this so-called opposite attack position. Here the knight is not allowing the bishop to play, and also the bishop is not allowing the knight to play. So that's why here Magnus tries to fix the position on the queen side with moves as a4. Of course, a potential b4 move wouldn't be good, because you can simply take en passant, then really take, and it doesn't matter. We can create here a blockade with the move b6, so we would really solve the problems on the queen side, and now the game would really transpose to the queen side, and Magnus could have gone into this common King's Indian attack. So that's why here in this position Levon Aronian played a very nice positional move. It's the move bishop on e3. Of course, we want to take out this knight, which is the key defender of this a4 pawn. So that's why Magnus tries at least to grab the bishop pair with move knight on b3. And here simply Aronian took bishop on b3, a takes b3, and now c5. Very strong move, creating immediate pawn breakthrough. You don't want to take here queen on b3, because again, black can really fix the position with moves as b6. You're not able to push the pawn here on c5, so that's why c5 first is much better. You cannot defend this pawn anyway on b3. So here c6, Magnus has to stop this advance of the pawn, and here now Levon Aronian takes the pawn. We have c takes d5, e takes d5, and now d takes c5, and now bishop on c5. And this is now a great game by Levon Aronian. We have a pass pawn, which can always be supported by this rook, and you see, if we get this rooks on the d and e file, this could be really deadly. The pieces are very nice coordinated. The queen is on a nice diagonal, the knight is on a nice square, this knight is also on a nice square, so perfect coordination here by Levon Aronian in this really blitz tempo. 3+2 is the tempo here. So as said, we will have a 9-round robin between these top grandmasters in this tournament. So you see, Levon Aronian is still appreciated chess grandmaster. He plays very actively. He plays this very nice opening lines. Sometimes I've seen it, he has lost also many winning games, so maybe he has sort of a lack of concentration, but in this game he played really actively. Bishop on c5, you see bishop on f5, but this bishop on f5, it's not something that you have to worry, because this bishop on f5, it just improves your position of the rook, because the rook is on a b file, which isn't anyway, you don't want to create anyway an attack on the b file. We want really to support this pawn on d5, which is our main strength in the continuation of the game. Rook on d1, very nice move. The pawn is now supported. It's really annoying, this pawn. You have to really play around it somehow. And here Magnus goes knight on d7. Maybe here Levon Aronian should have gone bishop on b4, simply not allowing some knight on c5 ideas in some occasions, or maybe knight on b6 ideas. Here the bishop is really on an active square. The position here is fixed. This bishop is supported by the pawn on a3, but here Levon Aronian plays a more patient way. Here bishop on e3, also good idea, simply regrouping his pieces. He is a pawn up, although Magnus has the bishop pair, but the bishops are really not so deadly here in this position. So e4 by Magnus, and of course you see now Levon Aronian has a very nice square for the knight, d4, which is controlling the whole center here, also attacking this f5 bishop. So in the next move Levon Aronian could get even rid of this annoying bishop pair. So knight on c5, okay. Here you see now the problems. If you would have the bishop here on b5, it would be much better, so you wouldn't lose the tempo here on c5. Here queen on c2 was played, and now knight on d3. Magnus really fixes here the knight. It's sort of an octopus. But here, of course, rook on f1 by Levon Aronian, rook on c8, and now after queen on d2, of course, getting out of the c file where the rook has a strong attack. Now it's not such a good knight because it's only supported by this e4 pawn, and Levon Aronian will use it, because here after h5, Levon Aronian plays a very strong move f3, which is the idea is, of course, to deflect this pawn from the defense of this knight on d3. So that's why knight on e5 was played. Maybe here e takes f3 would be also an interesting idea. Maybe Magnus should have gone in this line, because if you try rook on f3, then you get maybe here knight on e5, which is also very, very annoying. You have to bring the rook back, and here knight on c4 would be also very, very tricky idea, because you're attacking the queen and also the bishop, which is the key defender of this knight on d4. So I said maybe this, of course, after f3, you don't have to take here with the rook on f3. That's not the point, but here you can simply take out the knight on the bishop on f5. But maybe in this fast tempo 3+2 with maybe Levon Aronian would have made the mistake. Here after f3, Magnus tries knight on e5, and Levon Aronian simply uses now this moment. He plays knight takes on f5. We have okay, knight on c4, the same idea, but now queen on f2. We have g takes f5. Now of course f takes e4, we have knight on b2, queen takes on b2, and you see how Levon Aronian's pieces were really well coordinated. Of course, bishop on c3, but now you again get on the f file. The game is transposed on the f file. Here Levon Aronian has really a deadly attack. Great play by the Armenian top grandmaster. So rook on e4, but it's not a problem. Here Levon Aronian even sacrifices the bishop. Rook, queen takes on f5, rook takes on e3. Here queen on f7, king on h8, queen on h5, grabbing another pawn. You have to get back with the king on the g file. Of course, king on g8, again queen on f7 with the check, king on h8, and rook on f5. And in this game, the world champion resigned. So unbelievable stuff. Here, of course, the immediate threat is the checkmate on h5, which is unprotectable. Okay, as said, we have a 9-round robin between these top grandmasters. We have the time format 3+2. We had already very nice games in the first round. Also some surprises. If you have the opportunity, watch from round 1 also the game between Fabiano Caruana against Shakhriyar Mamedjarov. You will see something really sick. So in the continuation, I'll publish maybe much more of these games today, and let's see what's going on now in round 2. See you in a couple of minutes. Chess is the best, of course.